Here we are.
We made it. We
We
made
made
it.
it. We made it to the cottage and back.
This show, I was like, this show has me in a choke hold, and I am willing and able.
I'm excited to get into this with you.
Mm,
Um, for the people who saw our first video, but my name is Terrence. I'm a film critic. That's Stacey. She's also a film critic.
Stacey
Um,
Fine, yes.
yes, and I'm excited to get into this with you. Heated Rivalry has just finished its first season. Uh,
And
Last night.
how? Oh boy.
Finish the season, and we are going to get into some overall thoughts. I actually wrote an agenda for us, a very loose one. But I'm excited to get into this with you because you have not read the books,
Right.
and I have. And so I was intrigued. I'm intrigued to get your overall thoughts. We'll go overall thoughts and we'll go episode by episode, but I was really intrigued to get your thoughts on this in particular as somebody with no knowledge of the story. Um, and I think we can have a really like fun discussion here uh because there's some color I can fill in for you.
Yeah.
But there's also some things. So let's start off. Let's just start off with some overall thoughts. Overall thoughts.
Loved it. Roller coaster.
Okay.
Just when we talk about tropes and we
Hmm.
talk about the idea of approaching a trope very seriously, very sincerely, and knowing like I know exactly what you're doing. I know I'm going to be manipulated in this way, and I don't
Hmm.
care. Give it to me. And it's like we get them because throughout this, the enemies to lovers thing hasn't really translated as much for me.
It
I
was
think
rivals
that
to lovers
yeah, oh,
at best.
at
At
best,
best. Yeah.
exactly. And so I was like, unless the enemy was homophobia,
Well, yes,
then we
big
can
H
talk about
as we
that, the
call
big
it.
H.
The big H,
Yeah.
yes.
And so I like the miscommunication trope and the
Mhm.
one bed trope and it's got to be a girl trope and just all that stuff. But not only did they kind of bring these tropes in, but they rounded it out in a way, and we'll definitely talk about this, but the way they use the women in the series is phenomenal. And I really, really appreciate the respect that is given to them. They're not just hags that don't know anything, on the
Hmm.
side. They actually have like this agency to them. So, yeah, this season has been wonderful. And I think the tone is sustainable. Even if we were to get them like coming out, I think that they have enough for a second season, and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. I thought that the first season of the show was fun. Um, I I have a lot of complicated thoughts about this show. Um,
Do you mean as like opposed to the books or?
in concert with the books,
Mhm.
because I think that I was trying to, and I tried to get at this. I did weekly reviews for the show, which is something that I do not do
Mhm.
like regularly is even a strong word. Like I just don't. I tend to not do it just because of the commitment. But I was like, okay, this is fun. It's five reviews essentially. Maybe I'll write
Yeah.
another one just on my wishes for the next season. Um, and as I've been watching the show, I think that the show and the books both in they both invite me to be curious about them,
Mm.
right? And by that I mean like you've shown Jacob Tierney that you respect romance,
Mhm.
right? You respect the source material. You are treating it as seriously as you should treat this source material, right? Doesn't mean it has to be
Right.
deathly serious, but like you should believe in what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
And so with that, I think came like my curiosity and my more critical view a more critical eye on certain things. And so like
Mm,
I enjoyed the show even as it was like majorly frustrating me in episodes 4 and 5.
yeah.
And I think that is because it's like, okay, I see the thought that you put behind this. So then why is this other thing lacking? Which is why I was
Okay.
glad for the finale. Because I know everybody was raving about episode 5. Um, but I think the finale was actually a much better, best
Interesting.
episode
Okay.
of the show. Um, because yeah, it's like I wrote down like three, let me pull up my notes. I wrote down like three things that I think um trip me up as we were
Well,
going through this. And yeah,
I
go
would just
ahead.
say, do you want to go ep by ep and then
Yeah,
we
let's do
can kind
episode
of
by
bring it
episode.
up as we talk? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's like a nuanced discussion because like I did enjoy the show, but
Oh, yeah.
I think my bigger thing is just that like people are let this show people right, the royal people let this show get away with some things that
Mm,
I don't think they would let another show get away with. But I think that's because of how this show started. And because it's so we haven't seen anything like it before.
right.
So yeah, that's
Well,
it, we'll be able to dig into that as we continue on this journey.
I will say this show has earned itself a lot of goodwill. Like you were saying from the beginning, they said we are going to make something that hasn't been made before
Yep.
in this like direct this measurement, this big of a thing where you're like, oh, we're actually going to talk about intimacy and we're going to show it and we're not going to shy away from it outside of, normal censorship
Until episode
nonsense.
5. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so we're going to talk about that because
Yeah.
yes.
Because
Um,
I really I feel a way about that one. But yeah, let's
but then so I think I kind of mirrored episode three, but we'll get into that a
yeah.
little bit more. But yeah, I feel like between the casting and the script changes and everything, like you said, we could tell that they're passionate about it. You could tell that they care about it. And I think when that is presented, we're definitely willing to give a little more benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
to other things. Because at the end of the day, it's like this is fiction. It's doesn't need to be like hyper realism. There is a fantasy kind of element to
Yeah.
it. And I think, there are people who are like, oh, well, that's not my experience, or, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to be,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
not meant to be a one size fits all thing, but I do think,
right.
like I said, I do think they got a lot right. But
Mm,
I, because and there's been like a lot of like tweets going around where people are like criticizing the books and people are shocked or people are like, well, you know, all art like the critique is what makes the art better. And so it's like, and not that, and Jacob probably will never read a single thing that I wrote, or see this
yeah,
video.
never know.
But yeah, there were just some things where I was like, this all this will be for me is like a fun 55 minutes because
Oh, mhm.
it's not. And like I said, I had these problems with the book, so we'll get we'll get into those.
Okay,
There's
okay.
like some very specific things where I was like, oh, so you could have just left that. Could have just left that. All right, episode 4. Episode 4.
Opens up with
All the
shenanigans.
all the things that she said. Yeah,
That,
episode
okay.
4. So Shane and
Okay.
Ilya have been smanging.
Shemangan.
Um, Ilya gets the bright idea in his head that he wants Shane to stay over. He wants to make him a tuna melt. He
Well,
brings,
so did Ilya have that house or was that
yeah,
new?
that's Ilya's house in Boston, even though that doesn't look like
Right.
a Boston house
Yeah.
that you've ever, well, it's Boston by way of Canada. Um, he invites Shane over, makes him a tuna melt. They say each other's first names for the first time in the series. Shane is like, get me out of here. This is too realistic. He leaves. he goes out to party, he meets Rose Landry. And you got to meet Rose Landry for the first time. I was excited for you to get this episode covered my favorite part of the book.
Okay.
Um, because I just liked it felt realistic is not because some of this is ridiculous, but like it felt very tangible.
Right.
Um, I thought that episode 4, I thought bringing in Rose Landry was really smart.
Well, adds less
I
stakes too.
Yeah, and I was also glad that they showed Shane and Rose having sex, and I know a
Mm.
lot of people did not want to see that.
That
And
is, it's
but
such a
like
fine line. Yeah.
but like if the show is tr tracking relationship and character growth through sex, then like you need it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
long, it doesn't have to be gratuitous, right? It wasn't long, it wasn't gratuitous, right? And then you got, Ilya doing what he was doing in the shower.
Well, I was like, it
Um,
was essentially a threesome because I think
yeah,
they were trying to show that Shane was thinking about Ilya, which is why maybe that first time was a go, and the time
yeah.
subsequent, maybe
And
not so
so
much.
I liked the episode from that standpoint. I thought it was an interesting change. So this is where I'll give you color and some stuff. In the books, that scene with Shane and Ilya in the house takes place at night.
Mm,
And I
interesting.
found it an interesting adaptation choice to put it during the daytime.
I like that actually.
I just hated how it was shot. I just his house was too his
Really?
it just the house was too plain. It's something about it just the
We can't say
like
it's too plain. Someone did lamp watch, and
put all the lamps.
literally in Ilya's room there were like 5 or 6 different lamps. I was dying, but I actually like that because Ilya is new money. And so
Hmm.
he gets a house that's big. He doesn't really know anyone there. Who knows what his idea of like art and all that stuff is? And so it's filled with just things that may have come with the house already, or,
Hmm.
may just be expensive. There's no personality to it because Ilya doesn't really know himself. And so
Yeah.
it's really, I thought that it was very metaphorical. I'll say that because even when Shane gets done riding it like a cowboy, they get on that huge couch, that like
Yeah.
15-foot couch, opposite ends, like nothing but space in between them. And they keep like, inching a little closer. And then finally, you know, we have Ilya who's like, okay, whatever, we're just going to do this. And then you have Shane that's like, oh my
Hmm.
God, are we doing this? Can I do this? And then very
This
quickly
is
discovering that,
I will give all the praise to this will be a Hudson WIlliams uh performance stand podcast because the back half of the season he stepped it up in a major 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 way, I think.
yeah.
And also this is the challenge when you're reading the book with the book knowledge. Shane is so frustrating to me as a character.
Hmm.
I think in some good frustrations. And I think, but what I was so glad for when I was like, finally, Shane feels like he's not being swept along in this narrative,
Right.
right? I think much of the way stuff with Shane went, even up until that point in the episode, is Shane like being swept along by the narrative with just like little crumbs of things here or there, as opposed to what Ilya is dealing with. And I was glad that he finally shared his feelings, even if his feelings was I got to get out of here, which is why I was inspired
Yeah.
to make that TikTok about how important it is to use your words wisely. And I still maintain that because it's like Ilya, the conversation on the couch was so funny to me. It was funny to me in the book. It is funny to me here.
Yeah.
I
Because they're
1000%
just
get what
baiting each other. Yeah.
Ilya is trying. He's like, there's this guy that I like. I don't want to scare him off, but I really want to spend more time with him and spend the day with him. And now I want to low key gather some intelligence on if he's dating anybody.
Hmm.
And the second he says Svetlana's name, I said, "Oh, this is." When I was reading the books, I said, "This is not going to go too much
I said,
further."
Ilya, baby.
You, I get what you were trying to do, Ilya, but the point there was not to mention somebody specific. If he would have just came right out and said what he meant, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
we probably wouldn't have the show that we have, but it just yeah, it's
Well,
that's one of my favorite moments.
it's
Yeah.
also Ilya assuming that Shane understands the relationship between him and Svetlana.
Yeah.
And we get more discussion of it a little bit later, but really Shane sees her as a threat, to whatever degree you kind of want to put that.
Hmm.
Sees her at least as competition, and a
Yeah,
competition that he's probably not winning is what,
and her
in
name
his
will come back
mind.
up. Her name will come
Oh
back
yeah.
up again in a very pivotal moment.
Yep.
And it's very much the same reaction. But
I
yeah,
will say
yeah.
I screamed when because Shane gets up and you can tell he is freaking out. He's just crashing out, losing it. And Ilya's like, what's going like we were just having a nice time. Like what
Yeah.
happened? And Shane says, he's like, I can't. And then he says, stay, I can't. And it's like that when Scott Hunter was like, "You're beginning to sound like him,"
Mm.
and I thought that that was such an interesting little like, "Stay, I can't," and then just like freaking out, and that's why I also liked it being during the day
Hmm.
because you don't get the shroud of night, you don't get that kind of perceived privacy. It is like. Here we
Yeah.
are in this bright house with these
Yep.
huge windows open to the world, and is we're going to see if this is something that can work.
Yeah.
And quickly Shay was like, no, 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 no,
Yeah. I
I
will say
gotta go.
I get the adaptation choice. Something about it being at night though,
Mm,
because it was like he was asking him to like stay the night.
yeah.
It like there was some versus like, oh, like I can stay during the day. Like there's something about a lot of their excursions happening at night and
Hmm.
that whole thing happening at night that I think I missed in this. But I got why he did it, right?
Yeah.
Jacob is a very transparent writer, which I don't
Hmm.
think is a bad thing. It's just a matter of whether or not you like the transparency.
Right.
And in that, but yeah, I think, and we got to meet
Well,
Rose.
Well,
I
but
think, yeah, go
again,
ahead.
it kind of mirrored Scott and Kip again in season three. And
Hmm.
again, we have this warped reflection, this warped version, because we have Scott where Kip is trying to scoot out. He's like, no harm, no foul. We had a great time. Let me get out of here. And we have Scott being like, please stay. And then the next morning, he's like, no, really stay. Like
Yeah.
all day, all night.
He
And then we
said,
get to
I never do this. I like, yeah. Oh, Scott.
Woo, I love Misa. I love this. Three is probably still my top, with five as a close second. But oh my God, I love episode three.
Yeah.
But Rose Landry, so that's Sophie Nélisse, who she was in Yellow Jackets
Mm.
along with Francois Arnault. And so I laughed because I was like, the Canadian like acting
Yeah.
community, they're
It's
like,
very
we're taking
small.
care of each
Yeah.
other. But she plays Shauna, who honestly is kind of a female Shane. And
Interesting.
it just made me laugh that they chose her. But I love the approach she took to it. I love the way that she played it. And again, I loved that they didn't make her like a clueless, it
Yeah.
completely in love. She's like, I've been around the block before. She's like, I went to theater school. Like 80% of my
Yeah.
boyfriends have left me for other
She's
men.
down. She wants to have fun and then she realizes the situation she's in and she puts up, she gets I thought I liked meeting her. I thought she was interesting on the page.
Mhm.
I thought that the way that they showed the progress in their relationship was interesting. I think
Yeah.
that the which all leads up to sort of the club scene is one of the most iconic scenes in this book series, right? It's like they see each other. Shane and Ilya see each other, and because they don't communicate, they can't communicate because they've had the terrible experience. It's a mess, right? The one change that they made, and this starts to get at my little quibbles,
Okay.
is Miles
Thank you.
dancing with
Okay.
them. I think that I we'll come back to this expression, but this is a cake and eat it too show.
Okay. Yes.
And
Okay. I see.
because
Yes. Yes.
Miles absolutely hits on him in the books, and
Oh, yeah.
he feels the vibe. Shane does feel the vibe. In a world where Shane is so concerned about this Ilya situation that they've only been doing it in like random hotel rooms in this property that's not his actual house, and he's worried. They talk about camera phones. There is no way on God's green earth he would let Miles dance upon him like that. There's just no
I
way. And
have,
so I was like, this. I was like, I will. I it's minor, but like this,
but it's not.
it
And
doesn't feel
yeah.
good to the character. Yeah,
Okay, I'll say this. So I have two ways because when I saw it, my initial reaction was that where I was like,
yeah,
Shane would be like, I gotta go. And I mean, he literally did, but
yes.
you have a few things that could be happening. A, he is just paralyzed. He's like, he knows that Ilya is there. He knows because he sees his friend getting the girl for them. And he's like, oh my God, he's got to be with them. Like, I know
Uh-huh.
he's here somewhere. So it's like, well, maybe if he sees it. So he's trying to be cool. He's doing the pogo sticking, like not on any sort of beat, just kind of like whatever. And then Miles comes up behind him. And I'm like, he's does he freeze? Is it like fight or flight or fright, you know? And then he's like, oh my God, like, okay, well, I'm with a girl, so maybe they'll just think we're having fun outside and I don't need to like make a scene. But then he's like, oh no, this is too
This
weird.
gets,
I gotta run. It was a
I
very
think
cruel
this,
intentions moment.
yeah, it was like Jacob Tierney watched Teen Wolf, season two that before he wrote the scene.
Wow. Oh man. Yeah, I
Isaac,
can see that.
Erica, and Jackson, an
Mm-hmm.
iconic
Iconic.
moment, iconic, truly. But I think that this episode, and this is what I mean by where I was like, okay, I'm having fun with this,
Yeah.
but it's like it's inviting my curiosity. So now I'm going to treat this as seriously as I think that it wants to be treated. And I thought that they lost the thread a bit of like what how somebody who is closeted but is trying to maintain an illusion would act. You see it in the scene where he's talking to Hayden and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. And he's like, well, go get laid by. He gets so defensive about, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude,
Constantly. Yeah.
that was like a golden opportunity to continue the lie, right?
But Shane is defensive, but he's not confronting. And I think that therein lies it's if Miles had said to him, "Hey, do you want to get out of here?" or like, "Hey,
yeah,
like, ooh, let's dance" or whatever, then Shane would have been like, "Oh no, you know, like I'm blah blah blah." But Miles just kind of taking that initiative, I think it freaked him out, and I think
yeah.
he
I
froze.
just
But also, I thought the Miles stuff was necessary because of what we get in episode 5, that
yeah.
conversation. I think it sets up that conversation well. But yeah,
Yeah,
I know
but
what
I
you
think, yeah,
mean.
I think that like Jacob, you have shown yourself to be a smart writer,
Yeah.
and those are a couple areas where it's like, if I was Shane and I was trying to hide the fact that I was getting twisted up like a pretzel,
Railed 2 ways from Tuesday. Yeah.
right? I'm not, I'm going to overcompensate in the direction of, yeah, it's just me and Lily, yada yada yada, even if it is Hayden and he's like your best friend on the team, right? And
But
I did think that was a missed opportunity.
do you think what, well, okay, so herein lies the question. And I love it because I thought about this earlier and then I started watching like some reactions and a few of them brought it up. The fact that we have Jane and Lily.
Hmm.
and their text messages consist of dick pics, 9 inches. I want that booty hole. And I'm like, y'all, if anyone sees a single word of these texts, they are going to clock you instantly.
Yes.
And so then it becomes, oh, you've been texting with this girl, Lily, for years, and
Hmm.
now you're dating Rose Landry. And I'm like, for Shane to not even consider, like, oh, maybe I
Yeah.
need some sort of bridging story. But then it goes back to the idea of Shane doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Because
No.
I'm like, what would he have said in that situation? What would he have done
Yeah.
besides leave, which is essentially what he does?
Yeah. I think that's, I think I do agree that Shane is, this is what I mean by sort of Shane getting swept along in the narrative, because
Yeah.
I think an even sharper eye on that storyline would have had that conversation go a little differently. I
Mm.
would have been like, man, Lily is nothing, yada yada yada. Like, don't make, why are you, come
Yeah.
on, man. Just because you like
But he needed Lily,
Shane,
you know?
the it's just interesting to see how they're approaching it, because like if somebody is that deep, like they're gonna be the architect of their own sort of reality, right? So
Hmm.
I fully think that like Shane would be like, man, it's nothing. And he would, the way he would play it off would not be like, oh my God, he saw that I was texting Lily. What if he thinks it's Ilya? Oh my God, does he think he's It's like that thought has not even crossed Hayden's mind, right? But
Well, that's
you still want to maintain this lie. And I don't, and I will say that I do think the relationship with Rose was genuine, right?
I think he was trying. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
trying like anybody would try when they meet, somebody new, and then you get further into it, and then some things happen, which I think would bring us to episode 5,
I don't
which
know
many
that he was, I don't think that he was trying to beard Rose. I do think that
no,
he was like, I
he
can
genuinely
like
likes her.
girls. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think
he
he
meets
was
a girl
like,
that he
oh,
really
this
likes.
could be a relationship. And, I could see this going somewhere, even though I have these wild homosexual feelings
But
for
but
people with
but
penises.
for one person,
I don't,
and
I wondered about that too.
you
Yeah.
remember my thoughts in the first one that we did of these.
Hmm.
I do think that's a failing of the show and the books. I do like it's why Miles feels more important, because it's
Right.
like there's at least one other person that has sort of had a reaction to him, that there's just something to react to. But yeah, I think outside of it, like this is one of my big criticisms of the novel and of this show, um, is that the exploration the exploration of this is like non-existent. It's
Yeah.
like one man and one woman. And the woman, in episode so to get to episode 5, um, the woman does fall by the wayside, because Rose Landry is like, hey, this is not really working
That
out.
Wait, wait,
Great
wait.
scene.
We have to go through that scene. I adore that scene.
It was
But
great.
before you get there, I want to say, so it reminded me so much of Bridgerton, and this is actually a trope I'm not a fan of. The idea that this guy is going to eventually end up with this girl, and he has to go hoe out the entire city to figure out that he has specific feelings for this one girl, and then the girl
Shots
remains a
fired
virgin the
at
entire
Benedict
time.
Bridgerton, at the
Woo!
Reggae Jean
Colin
Page,
and at
at
Reggae and at Anthony, all of
Anthony.
them
Shots
Bridgerton
fired at everybody.
boys.
Everybody a
It
rake.
was like, but that's the thing. And so that was my kind of issue at first. That was the issue I thought I was going to have with Rose. And
Hmm.
they really made her character so special that I was like, okay, thank you for
Yeah.
subverting that. Because I was like, I need Shane to go out and get more booty. If this is what we're doing, and like you were saying, if we're exploring this through the lens of sex, but don't tell me that they've been going 3 years and Ilya's been with Svetlana and Shane has
Yep.
just been celibate the entire
Yeah. This is
time,
this
you
is
know?
I it's one of the
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I think, like I said, Jacob and Rachel made calculated decisions as they were writing their respective versions of the story. And
Hmm.
they are successful, right? The show is
Yeah.
successful, but I
Yeah.
do think the calculated decisions you miss something and
Just a
it's when
kind
you
of
can,
little blind spot.
yeah, it's like, but when you stop down and you get the scene in like this restaurant and tr she's trying to break up with him.
Hmm.
She's trying to see
Well, she's
if
trying to get
he's
the
gay,
truth. Yeah.
but she's trying to lay out like a landscape or a soft landing spot. She's
Like,
she's
I'm
being
cool. I'm not judgmental.
yeah, she's
Like,
trying to lay
you
out a soft
know.
landing spot because she knows she's being very considerate of his feelings. And I think Rose and Svetlana
And Elena to a point.
model behaviors that if this were a conversation in real life, it would not be going like this. In that way, I also feel like Hated Rivalry is aspirational and fantasy in that way. Like it's
Yeah.
two women who,
Hmm.
in Svetlana's case, her and Ilya have been friends. Say they've been doing all this stuff for a long, long time,
Yeah.
right? Um, and with Rose, she's like trying to be gentle and like Hudson, Hudson. I you It was rough in the first two episodes, Hudson. It truly was. Connor's story was wiping the floor with you.
Mm.
But you started wiping the floor with Connor in
When
episodes four,
I
five, and
tell
six.
you, when she
Wiping the
said,
floor.
have when she said, have you ever been with a man? And he's he's already doing the avoidant eye contact thing,
Yeah.
which I thought was such an interesting touch because I guess it is canon that he's autistic or at least on the spectrum within the show. And there are little things that he definitely added to
Hmm.
his performance. And I thought that that was an interesting one. But then he says he does this like nod and but it's this nod of like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like
I mean, his
how's this gonna go?
I think that he did a great job in this. I said this in my episode 6 review, but it's like I feel like the issues with Shane in the beginning are that he's so internal, like too
Hmm.
internal, which is why I would be like, you need to give him things to do so that like you got to show us, right? And
Right.
I think here he did a great job of making the internal external, right? So he's trying not to, and this is a very familiar experience. Five and six are some very familiar experiences, um, where I mentioned he's the architect of his own reality. Rose is essentially lobbing atomic bombs at the
Yeah.
buildings, right? And it's all coming crashing down. And he's did a good job of showing Shane like trying to figure out like, can I get out of this situation? No, I can't get out of this situation. Oh my God, I can't get out of this situation. She seems maybe I could tell her maybe if I just do this one thing. Oh, now I'm having these flashbacks of Ilya and all of our cutesy little moments, and it's like, oh, okay, like maybe this is a safe space and she's being very nice. And it's like, okay,
And then he just
maybe
leans
having
and
her, yeah, maybe having, and then her being like, let's be friends, I think is a great sort of end to that. But yeah, it's like,
well, not only that, but saying, let's be best friends. Like, no,
yeah.
I am serious. Like, we're not going to be like, oh, I'll text you once a year and say happy birthday. Like, no, I need you to know you can confide in me.
And
I'm here for you, etc.
did you clock that where she was like, this movie makes no sense? She was getting painted blue. I think that was supposed to be a drag at
I
X-Men.
cackled. I cackled. And I was like, okay, what does John Stamos have to say about where's Jerry O'Connell? I need to know the tea. That made me laugh
Oh,
so
it was
much.
funny. But yeah, you get
Also, so we talk about Shane's progression.
Hmm.
And there are so many little moments that speak to it without kind of being overt. And I think like the first one was him being like, I prefer to be the whole rather than the bag. And
I
I
still
was
can't
just
believe,
like,
I still cannot believe
I
he
buy
said
it
that.
though. I buy it
That's
because
crazy.
it feels like a intrusive thoughts. Like he almost didn't mean to say it out loud.
He definitely didn't mean
And
to
then
say
he
that.
was like, oh, he was like, well, it's said. Let's see what happens. But then when she's on the phone with him in the makeup trailer,
Yeah.
she has it on speaker. Like there's clearly another person there. And she was like, oh, maybe you can tell them that I'm gay and not you, like
Yeah.
not you, Shane Hollander, captain of the Montreal the Marlins or whatever. Like I'm the
The
one who's
Metros.
homosexual. I'm not the one getting railed 3 ways from Tuesday. What do you think, makeup artist? And he's like, I love it. I'm jealous. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh.
it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah, Shane has a bit more of a buoyant episode. We'll get to the Ilya and Shane of it all, but I do want to
Ooh.
ask you about just Ilya specifically because you didn't know any of this was coming. So what did you think of Ilya's father passes away? He has to go back to Russia. He's dealing with the Raggedy brother.
Actually,
And
I knew all of that was coming just
did
because,
you?
again, it's like, because I knew that daddy was not long
Oh, well,
for
yes,
this
that.
earth. And then I knew that the brother was a hot mess. I felt because what it did is we have the conversation between Ilya and Shane talking about I can never go home. Like, or actually
Hmm.
that comes after, right? Is that
Yeah,
after?
it comes at the All-Star
Okay,
game.
that comes after, but we have the idea of Russia being bad. And they do have a conversation where he's like, "Oh, are you going home for the summer?" And he's like, "Do you feel safe?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's my home. Like, what do you mean by that?" And so I thought I was like, "Oh, this is giving him a way to leave Russia
Hmm.
and but not necessarily just for Shane, but because that's no longer his home.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that the dad was police and the brother was police.
Hmm.
I didn't fully understand that part until they got to it, and I was like, this brother's a cokehead. Like, just turn him in. Yeah.
Well,
But yeah.
when
But
has
I
being in
did
a high ranking position ever stopped anybody?
I did like that he said, I'll set up a trust fund for the niece
Hmm.
and, she can get it when she's 18. Otherwise, don't call me, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Peace out. But then, yeah, there's more to that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I liked it. I was fine with it.
Yeah,
I thought it was yeah.
I thought the stuff in Russia this season has been good. I
Hmm.
think that it's also one thing that frustrated because I'm like Shane does until episode 4 Shane does not have an equivalent, right? Just in terms of like a heft of a side storyline. Um
Right,
and
right.
I
Yeah.
think they're
It's like
very
his mom and the endorsements.
yeah, I
That's
think
about
they're
it.
very respectful. I do think it's interesting that like and feels all encompassing in this episode in particular because of what's going to happen with Scott and what happens with Scott and Kip at the end. That I feel like they did a great job of showcasing Russia as a homophobic country
Hmm.
and a not great job at showcasing the workplaces and the league that these dudes play in as homophobic. We're told a
They,
lot about it. We're told a lot
yeah.
about it. We're not shown a lot about it. But that's sort of like it's something that'll carry through as we get to the Scott and Kip of it all.
Well,
But
no, I
I
think,
like the
that's
stuff in Russia.
actually
Yeah.
that's a very good point because Scott, of course, at the beginning of Ep 6 makes a speech. And I remember during Ep 3, because I said it then, I said, if you are going to kind of live this closeted life and then try to have a partner, you need to have a small community of people that you can trust and
Hmm.
that you can confide in, like be yourself around. And I said, Scott loves his team so much more than anything. Does he ever feel comfortable to come out to them, even if it's just them, not going out, further than that? And I feel like I wish. I would have liked to see a little more of like maybe someone saying something in the locker room that was messy.
Yeah.
Because the most we got was like the most supportive straight guy. He's like, man, that guy's balls is still. He's so
Yeah. So
brave for
that
being a Russian.
this is
Yeah.
so this is this season essentially
Hmm.
adapts Game Changer and Heated Rivalry, right? Game
Right.
Changer is the first book in the series. It's a Scott and Kip book. In that book, and this is the challenge because it's like I feel that things have to stand on their own,
Hmm.
but I do think there was a missed opportunity. There was a missed opportunity because in that book, I believe Scott does come out to the team, or at least
Oh,
to the
okay.
coach, and at least to that
Hmm.
player, and he comes out to Kip's father and
Ah,
mother.
okay.
So like as much as I thought that the ending of this episode was very beautiful, I thought it was done extremely well. It was smart dramaturgically to go
Hmm.
from like putting that cross-cutting with Shane and Ilya, brilliant. But I was like, there is like a reunion. There is a something that
That we
we
haven't
miss
seen.
that we don't have that I think actually doesn't make that moment stand as strong as it could have, as opposed to like if we track Ilya's journey based on all the stuff in Russia, right? We have the phone call
Mm,
where Shane is like, say it to me in
so
Russian,
sweet. Yeah.
and Ilya trusts him enough, even though in the book he sort of waffles on it. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said all that. What if he was translating that? But he like trusts Shane enough to not translate what he's saying, and he finally admits that he, loves him.
Hmm.
Um, and it all gets sort of built into this thing. So it was like it was interesting because this episode 5 had no sex scenes, which
Yeah.
I do feel a way about. Because
But it
they
was so,
I got
yeah,
I
go ahead.
I got I
Yeah.
got it.
It was a lot. Yeah.
It was probably might be the longest episode of the season, but it's like
Mm.
I get why there were no sex scenes, but I do think Shane and Ilya are just doing it all the time in the books. And I feel like I get that you want to be like, oh, their relationship has changed now, but even in the book when the relationship has changed, they're still smanging every 2 seconds.
Well, we get the end,
Yeah,
like
and
he's on
so
the
and
bed
so it was
saying
like
bye. And
well, how does it yeah, but how did in the wake of Ilya crying and of Shane admitting to him that he is gay, what does
Mhm.
that sex look like? I think
Yeah,
that was the one scene that I think I missed it.
exact, right.
And
Yeah.
then we miss a Scott and Kip. I just don't know how Kip
Well,
was
okay.
at the game. How were they at the game?
This is what I had. So, this is why I was a little bit confused about episode 6 because
Yes.
I knew it was the cottage. I knew it was going to be the cottage. And when it
Hmm.
opened up with Scott doing that speech, I was like, oh, okay, finally, we're going to go back, maybe see what happened,
Nope.
see how they got back together. And then they're like, no. So I'm like, okay, well, is this like a season 2 thing? Because. So we talked about, the show kind of building goodwill. And I think episode 3, for being almost like a bottle episode, built out Scott and Kip so thoroughly
Hmm.
that and it left the end not necessarily close ended, but and not necessarily open ended, but there was like a sliver of hope because they're like, yeah, he couldn't go in, but at least he was there. At some point, maybe they can kind of reconcile and talk it
Yep.
out. Us going through all the Shane and Ilya stuff and then zoom cutting to the Scott and Kip of it all, I thought was very effective. But now I need them to kind of go back and fill in those
Yeah.
spaces.
I it's
And yeah,
it was definitely something I was intrigued about because I was like, okay, Jacob, like that, I still think episode 3 was such a smart curveball to throw. And I do
yes,
wonder what this season would have looked like with 8 episodes rather than 6. But I
yeah.
still am like, once again, we go back to the calculated decisions. Like you made a calculated decision to not show us a reunion or some sort. Mind you, it's been 3 years since the end of episode 3. Like,
Wow.
we don't
Yeah.
know any, like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's like
Well,
we don't uh, it felt it was the first time the end of the episode, even though I think that the way like the execution, because in the book they're both watching the game and they see Scott Hunter do this, and I think that the way Francois Arnault portrayed this was real. He did a great
oh,
job. It was a great acting scene. But I was like, but script wise, this is very flimsy. It was
well,
very
I
flimsy.
think
Like in
the
particular,
part.
because look at all of the thought that was put into every single thing that happened up until then. Even I even like the change in the hospital room because that's in the book that scene is much more dramatic. Where
Okay,
but
yeah,
I loved this might be my favorite adaptation choice of this whole series. I love Shane being high on drugs, just blurting it out because you just
yeah.
know that he would never say it like this, and it's like wrecking that great
Well,
scene.
wait. Before we get to, because I do want to go a little more into
Yeah.
depth into that. But so, like I was saying, I liked the kind of zoom cut because it kind of said to me like these stories are happening at the same time.
Yes.
And, we have our focus on Shane and Ilya, but don't forget Scott and Kip have this other thing. Now, I still want them to go back and kind of explore that. And maybe that can kind of be near the beginning of season two, where we kind of figure out how things got to that.
Hmm.
But because then there's also the aftermath of that happening. Now, I will say two things. One, Francois Arnault said that he received a lot of DMs from like hockey players, current and past, who are like, I wish I would were able to do that. I wish that that's something I could ever do. That was really nice. I thought that that was very sweet. But
Hmm.
the one point that kind of like had me confused was when Kip is kind of starts crying, like getting emotional. And Elena was like, or he's like, I'm not sad. And she's like, you're allowed to be. And I didn't clock at first that that was his dad next to him. So I was like,
Hmm.
this dude is invested. Like, he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I was like, if this time I didn't know it was 3 years, but I was like, if this time has passed, we're assuming that they had a breakup. He went to grad school and whatever, and then maybe came back for like a holiday or a break or something. What happened that they got together and why is he still sad? Because
Yeah.
obviously Scott left these tickets for him and his dad, so they have
Did they?
some sort of communication.
Who knows?
Why they
The
didn't buy
story
because they
the
were in the same place, right?
that feels like a production thing, but who knows?
Maybe,
The
yeah,
writing, it's
true,
I think it's the biggest fumble of the season, and
yeah.
it's why like
Which is saying, like, yeah,
yeah, I mean
it's a
like
good season.
it's I'm glad people like the episode, but this is what I mean by like the show inviting my curiosity because of how seriously it's taking these things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you gave us a whole episode of these dudes. The time jumped 3 years, and now you just want to celebrate this moment, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is the catalyst for
Oh, when
these
I tell
two
you
knuckleheads finally getting it together. But
that 5 minute span, or however long it was, and so I think
it
push
was like
comes to
3 minutes
shove.
actually.
Listen, it was an hour and a half for me. Like I rewound it
I have
so
rewatched
many
the
times.
scene, but I also have
Yeah.
all of the context. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and so yeah, I feel like they did choose to go for the drama for that scene because I said I knew what happened. Like a friend of mine had done this video at a sports bar and they're like, oh, the moment when Sky and Kit when
Yeah.
this happens on Heated Rivalry and everyone's cheering. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'd gotten spoiled, but
Oh.
to see everything that worked up to it, like I was
Hmm.
still screaming. I was like, Scott, what are you doing? Scott, what were you?
It's great.
Oh,
I think in
so I think it was built for that,
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think, but I think for me, Francois' performance is carrying that
oh
so much. But
God,
I'm
I love
like, but
him.
the writing, it is a mess. It is a mess
Well, then,
that we did not get a
okay,
scene with them
yeah,
prior,
oh yeah.
even if it was just,
I
say,
wanted a scene. I would take it after because I like
yeah,
the element of that just kind of jumping in and being
I
like, oh
think
wait,
even if it was just like a scene prior to that where I'm trying to think of I don't know what the games sort of what the best of seven series is the Stanley Cup. So like say Scott's team was up through I don't know if it was game seven or whatever. I'd have to rewatch the episode. But if they were up like 3 games to 2 and they were coming back home for the sixth game and he's like, I'm going to win the cup tonight. And he sent them these tickets being like, no pressure, but I think we're gonna win the cup tonight. I know you and your dad are big fans. Come see the game. Even just like that little of a sliver.
Yeah.
And then to watch Kit be like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then to get what we got would have it just would have been more streamlined. I just think it was really clunky. It has great it's great execution for Shane and Ilya's story, but
It's
I just
great
don't think it's
drama,
great
right?
execution
Well,
for Scott and Kit.
but when we talk about POV, and I think that the idea is that we're doing this from Shane and Ilya's POV. Like they're the ones who are really kind of the
Yeah,
lead
that
couple in this
scene.
one. And so that comes out of nowhere, which actually I think works well because they're not thinking about the idea of anyone else in the league. They're already like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone else in the league is straight. We're the only ones. And it's like,
Well, here's
yes.
here's the thing. Do you think it would have worked better then if we didn't get episode 3? This is what I've been thinking
No,
about since watching
no,
episode
I don't think
5.
it works at all. If we get, I think
Well,
episode three
here's
had
the
to have
if
happened.
if
Yeah.
you just read the Heated Rivalry book, that is
Hmm.
what you would have experienced, and that would have been Shane and Ilya's perspective. This is like I
Gotcha.
said, I will keep going
Okay.
back to the have your cake and eat
Yeah.
it too. They were
Yep.
like, obviously the people who read the books knew that this was coming, but I think, like I said, for Shane and Ilya's story, it was worked really well. Francois Arnaud's performance was great, but for Scott and Kip's story, I was like, we just needed one scene, and if you were going to cut out all the sex scenes from this episode, certainly there should have been time.
Now, I would have liked something at the end. There was a small mention in Ep 6, but I actually really didn't even like that because I'm like, or at the very least, I need these to be setups for what we're going to see in season 2. So if
So I
we open
think
up season 2, kind of going back, then I'll be like, okay, okay, I see what you
Yeah,
guys are doing,
I'm
and
intrigued to
I
see what
think it
he's
works
gonna
out.
do. Um, I'm intrigued to see what he's gonna do. Because episode 6, unless you want to talk about the hospital scene, we haven't really.
Well,
The,
before that, real quick,
yeah,
on the ice, during the scene, whoever was doing the cinematography was in their bag.
yeah. You should go to
I,
their so you should go to the social page. They did a video. They did like a
ooh,
behind the scenes. They did like a
oh,
behind the scenes compared to what it looked like on the show. Yeah, it's
oh
pretty
my,
fun.
because you're spinning and you're seeing like this wonderful like coming together of the hearts, and then
Yeah.
you have Shane, and it's still kind of doing that like
Yep.
pan shot, and he's like, his face is like, oh my God, I can't believe this
They
is
matched the camera movements. No,
happening.
it's great.
And
That's but
then
this
and then it goes to Ilya, and then Ilya's like, uh, oh,
it
okay.
feels Heated Rivalry feels to me like what the Grease live felt like to those live musicals. And I'll explain explain what I'm getting at. We NBC did brought back the live musicals,
Hmm.
and they were mainly stationary or like sort of a three-camera, a multicam setup. And
Yeah.
Grease Live comes along. Tommy Kail directed it, who would end up to direct Hamilton.
Hmm.
Um, and he was like, well, the if we're editing this live, the camera can move. And suddenly, like whatever you think about Grease Live itself, the direction of it is and cinematography
Looks
of it is like
fantastic.
spectacular
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, we can do this. And it Heated Rivalry feels like that, where it's like your meaningless show can still have thought behind it.
Awards.
It can still have intention, right? Like it
Hmm.
can you can be intentional about this. Like it's a romance, and I've talked a lot about. I read a lot of them. I just finished I finished a novella last night. But because I'm trying to get to my Goodreads goal, and I'm like 2 books
Nice.
away, and I'm like I've got to finish
Ooh,
these books.
all
Or I
right.
might be 3 books away, but it can have meaning. So I think that this this episode sort of, the season shows it, but this episode was really like, yeah, put the it doesn't just have to we don't just have to do subtle zoom ins. The camera can move, we can do all of these things, but yeah. But that leads us into
There's this
oh, go ahead.
there's this wonderful uh TikTok or IG reel where it's like Shane's Filipino nurse at the hospital when Ilya comes and visits, and
Yes.
she was like, "Oh yes, your boyfriend is really nice." Just like,
Yeah.
and she just did one where she's like the waitress at Rose
That's
and
that's
Shane's
why he was
dinner
telling him to
with the
shh
hospital.
when he was leaving. Yeah, I that hospital scene is
Oh,
great. Even
it's
if I
so
thought that the way
sweet.
Shane got injured was stupid.
Well, okay, so when
It
we were
didn't play
talking
like that in
earlier.
the books. It didn't play like that in the books.
Well, okay, so this is my question then. I'm glad you said that because I've been listening to these hockey podcasts and they've been talking about
Yeah.
the show. And they talked about that. They're like, he was in the
Hmm.
neutral zone. He was like, never do you look back over your shoulder. He's like, that's so dangerous. And they were like going through all the mechanics of it. And so I know in the book, he gets checked or
Yeah, he gets hit into
there
the
is a
the
moment of
glass.
distraction, but it's not like goony hard eyes.
Yeah.
Like, ah, did you
I
see that, boo?
I thought that that was so silly.
He's in love.
I thought but I thought it was so silly to the point where I was like, y'all have not been trading and stuff like this entire show. Like you've embraced the silliness of just the inherent silliness of this thing,
Yeah.
but like you have not been treating it silly until that
Hmm.
moment. And like I said, the stuff in the hospital I think is a better change from the books that he's high on drugs and he's, will
Yeah.
you come to my cottage? Don't go back to Russia.
It's gonna be
Right? It's like that.
so
I thought that was
fun.
great, but no, it was silly. It was silly. And I was like, this has been beneath
Apparently,
y'all.
well, no, but this is so apparently when Shane or when Ilya enters into the room, Shane's heartbeat goes crazy. And then when he comes like holds his hand or something, it goes back down and then it rests at 81,
Which is
which
his
is
jersey number.
Ilya's
Yeah.
number. Yeah. And I was just like,
You see what
okay,
I'm
like
saying?
you're
Like the
having fun.
show,
Yeah, like this is the
Jacob,
fanfic element of it.
Jacob, but I think that that's smart sort of visual things that you're like, oh, if people are paying really close attention, they'll see this. And Jacob
Yeah.
is a very smart showrunner, which is why I did not like how Shay got injured because I was like, you don't need to be this silly. You don't need to be this silly. But
Hmm.
episode 6, we now come to the finale, which I think is maybe it's either this or episode 3 that's my favorite episode of the show.
Mm.
I thought that
I thought it was a little disjointed. I understand why they put
interesting.
Scott's speech. I
Yes, which is
don't,
a big
there was,
moment in the book. Yeah.
yeah, I almost wish that we would have, well, I like that ending of like, I'm coming to the cottage. But I don't know. It just felt, because it was like, what, a
It felt
month
tacked
later?
on. It felt tacked
Yeah, it
on.
feels tacked on, exactly. But
But
once we get to the car and them
mhm.
together, that's kind of when the episode starts for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the book, a lot of the characters talk about the speech that Scott gives at this award ceremony when he wins MVP and about like how stirring it was and how important it was. And there is something I kind of I wonder if we'll see in season 2. There's like
Hmm.
a party thrown in Scott's honor at a gay club,
Ah,
and a lot
oh,
of character
the
and
Kingfisher.
some of the characters that you have met are in attendance. So
Okay.
I won't say who, but some of the characters who you have met through this are in attendance. And so they didn't do that. So it did feel it felt like, because Jacob has said that he was editing this thing down the stretch. I think they were originally planning to premiere this in February. And I think other than greenlighting the show, the
Hmm.
smartest decision anybody involved in this production made was debuting it at Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the smart
perfect.
it's arguably the smartest business decision that was made.
Hmm.
People were home, people were off work, all of the other shows, like your regular shows had been winding down. There was nothing. It was like Welcome to Derry and I Love LA were the only and Stranger Things, but Stranger Things was coming out
Right.
in chunks, was the only things that were within this. So I think it was smart, but he mentioned that he was sort of editing it down the line, and I could definitely feel like he was like, "Oh, people are really responding to this. Like this, let's add this on." I don't know when he picture locked this episode, but it
Mhm.
did feel tacked. It felt tacked on in a way where I'm like, "Why was Kip not in the audience?"
Exactly.
Like and
Because
so
Kip
and
and
so
I
that
said, do they televise those? Because Kip was watching at the bar, and I was like,
I think they do. I'm not the biggest hockey fan, so I wouldn't know. I know they televise like Major League Baseball. They would like if this had happened in Major League Baseball, like they do an award show, and this certainly would have been on there. I definitely think sports networks probably would have carried this in some respect, right? It's such a big deal. Um, but yeah, yeah, it just felt weird that Kip was not there.
well, it
Um,
also begged the question of like, why isn't Kip at school? But again, we don't know
yeah,
what
I
has
think, and
happened in
this.
these years.
I
So
think
yeah.
that Jacob was really smart to give us that episode, and I
Hmm.
do think he dropped the ball a bit in not if you
At least one more scene,
you
even if
gave
they had done
us
it in episode 4.
and this is also a byproduct of only 6 episodes. That's why I said I wonder if this was like an eight
Yeah.
episode season where we would be because I think he would have strung the Scott and Kip thing
Yep.
along throughout, and then it would have been like that would have been like oh it would have felt a little more traditional that it like your traditional like B plot or C plot would have been Scott and Kip and it would have grown. But yeah, we get to we're at the cottage.
Wait. I'm so sorry. Before we
Yeah.
get to the cottage, I just have one question. Were Scott and Shane ever on the same team?
Uh no All-Star games, yeah.
So when we first see them and he's like, "Oh, I'm in the room right next to him." I
So
thought that they were
that was at I think that was at an All-Star game and
okay.
they
Okay.
were doing like a skills competition, and
Yes.
it was North America versus Europe. I think
Got
was the vibe
it.
there. So yeah,
Okay.
they and Scott very wisely was like, I'm right next door.
Well, when Shane won the cup, those
Hmm.
back-to-back years, I kept looking for Scott because I thought that they were just on the
Oh
same
no, they're not on the
team.
same team. Oh, but that's
And
something
then
I
I
should
was like,
mention.
"Oh, he got drafted."
We
I'm
we
like,
will get to we
okay.
will get to this cottage thing here in a second.
Yes, yes.
I will say, do you want to know one of the most egregious things that happened in the books?
Uh-huh.
Shane winning those back-to-back Stanley Cups happens off page.
Wow.
And
She
this,
said hockey who?
I said, Rachel, you must do time in jail. You must do time in jail. And the reason why I say that is hockey is extremely important to your characters. It doesn't have to be
Hmm.
important to us, but it's extremely important to
Right.
them. Ilya wins the cup, and it's like a monumental thing, right? Like Shane is watching this and is having like this jealous slash emotional
Conflicted.
reaction, conflicting
Yeah.
feelings. And then I was like, and you don't have so I thank you, Jacob. I know I've been clocking
Yes.
you a bit in this review, but thank you, Jacob, for putting that in
I
there
love
because I
Ilya
thought that
was
was
like,
crazy.
that's my boo.
Shane, who is hockey obsessed, whose parents are hockey obsessed, who spent his whole life around hockey, wins 2 Stanley Cups, and that happens off the page. Girl, please.
Yeah.
Jail time, Rachel, a week sentence. Um, but yeah, we're at the cottage.
Yes. We're on the
And
way. Oh, sorry. My niece's little puppy came in. I was like, ah. Um, Even
we were
on the
getting
way to the
attacked like we were
cottage,
getting emotionally attacked in the episode.
right? Well, okay. So I said, I need to watch this episode because I was like, I put on my TikTok. I was like, this has been stressing me out because I'm like, what's going to go wrong? I was like, are they
Yep.
going to make it to the college? Are they going to get in a car accident? Or did
Oh my
someone
God,
saw
no.
Ilya in the airport and they're going to follow him and it's going to be paparazzi and they're all going to take pictures, And I was like, okay, everything has been like pretty mellow. Like I know this is just theirs. I said, let them have their time.
Hmm.
And I said, there could be some conflict, there could be some arguments, discussions, etc., but let them have their time. And I'm glad. So once I finally got through it, once I went back and watched it again, I was like, okay, I have a little more relief now.
That's funny. Yeah, I think they have their time. They get into the cottage. Shane is giving him a tour. Ilya immediately wants to jump his bones,
Or
but
I choose or.
I thought they were gonna call back to that actually. He's like, "Do you want the tour?" I thought the camera was gonna pan back around and and Ilya was gonna have on no clothes.
Right.
But they Shane in the midst of this is like, let's be honest for these 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Ilya agrees. And you finally, finally get these two characters being honest about their feelings, about their lives, talking about all of the things that they had not previously while still smanging. And Jacob,
And shmang they did.
well, my one this is very minor quibble. This didn't I read an interview last night with Jacob where he was talking about the sex evolving and how it's like, oh, it needs to be intimate and sweet and playful. And I am intrigued where it will go in season two
Hmm.
in relation to this, in part because I think this we're back to the cake and eat it have your cake and eat it too situation where I'm like,
Hmm.
it could still be meaningful and it could still be just as crazy as it was when, Shane was going buck and Bronco on him in episode 4, or what they were the media the Dom sub dynamic that they had in episode 2, right? It could we could
Double
all of those
barrel
things could still that could still be
takedown.
that could still because that's what they do.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that yeah they get to smang. It's very sweet. They get to have these great conversations. We found out that Ilya's mom uh uh I guess
Committed
died by suicide,
suicide. Yeah.
whatever.
She said it
How
was an accident. She accidentally swallowed a bottle of pills.
yeah, I was
I was
like,
like,
oh
whoop. Well,
yeah.
so Connor actually just did a interview with Evan, Shut Up Evan, and he actually was like talking about that. And I was like, do we know that yet, Connor?
Yeah, we do.
But he was like, yeah, his mom died of suicide and blah, blah. And I was like, did they say that? But then he explains it more. So what I loved about this was even though he's like, I'm coming to the cottage, even though Shane is like, let's be honest with each other, there is still this moment of them trying to feel each other out, trying to
Oh
suss each
yeah.
other out. How serious is he going to be? Does he like as much as I like him? Et cetera, et cetera. And we get to Shane wakes him up in the middle of the night
Yeah.
and is like, I've been thinking, I've been vision boarding, I've been planning. Here's the next 3 years of our lives. Let's do it. And Ilya kind of has a decision of he can shut down and just kind of be like, whatever, or he can be vulnerable. And
Hmm.
he says, is that what you really want? Like, to be together, whatever. He was like, yeah, like I want it more than anything, like so much it scares me. And that honesty, that admittance of someone cares about me to the extent that they are going
Hmm.
to plan our lives, plan to be with me because they want to be with me. And, I think that just broke him. And we get that beautiful scene where he just is like bawling. And then he says, I love you. Shayna's like, whoa. He's like, can't believe that
Yeah.
worked. I thought it
It
was
it
so
happens
sweet.
it happens a little differently in the book, but I think I like
Hmm.
the change here. I like it being in the
Hmm.
middle of the night. I like it like Shane.
Yeah.
I think Shane, what I like about that scene is they're going about it in their ways. I think Shane
Yeah.
absolutely is the type of person to
Yeah.
have heard that he was going to be a free agent and like his mind just starts spinning. He's his mother's
Hmm.
child. Definitely that's
Yep.
the mama influence
Gets
right
out the
there.
whiteboard. Like, is
Yeah, like
in this.
he was like, this is this is the thing that I'm going to give to Ilya. Like this is the plan. Like
Yeah.
I figured it out, Ilya. Like we can do this. And Ilya, I think in that moment I think that because there's a scene that precedes it that I think was my favorite of the episode.
Hmm.
Um, but he's like, f- I think he's like, he accepts it for himself and he accepts it for Shane, right? He's like,
Hmm.
I can have this
Yeah. And we can have
and we can
this.
have this. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very beautiful. But yeah, the scene that I'm referring to is when he's talking about what he's gonna do. Like he wants to get a passport that's not um Russian, and
Yeah.
he mentions marrying Svetlana. Hudson, you you deserve an acting award for this scene.
He said, how
You
about
deserve an
instead?
Hudson. This if you're listening to this, Hudson, when you submit to the Canadian Emmys or whatever their equivalent is, episode 6 is the episode you need to submit. And I want you to submit this scene, and I want you to submit the scene where you first walk in the door to your parents, and I want you to submit the scene with the mama. But this scene, it was most thrilling to watch for me acting wise because you could see he is, and this, choose your words wisely. We go back to my episode 4 TikTok.
Yep.
This is what I mean. Shane is hearing this conversation and he's hearing a future that they could have, but not a good
Hmm.
one. And so he's like, I cannot believe we're gonna have this time together. He's gonna have to marry this girl. We're gonna have to sneak around on the side. This is gonna be miserable, but at least I'll have him.
But not
And
only that, because Shane was also still kind of grappling with the fact that Ilya's bi, and he
mhm,
knows that Ilya and Svetlana have this history, whether sexual or not. They've
yep.
known each other since
He's
forever.
like,
And so he's like, is he
it's
gonna
good.
stay with Svetlana?
Yep.
Like, what's the
It's juicy
plan?
because it's like, is the only way I can have this man if he gets married to somebody he has a ton of history with, and where will that leave me if they just up and decide to, do
Yeah.
whatever? And you could just see the tears are starting to well up in his eyes. And then Ilya tells him, he's like, I've been with many women. And I was like, Ilya, please, please. And then
Please, Ilya.
you finally get the
Yeah.
go around where he's like, and all the time I'm with these women, I'm wishing they were you. And he says it in his own Ilya way, right? He's like a slow
Yeah.
hockey player with a weak backhand, but like it's like Shane sort of is like lights up and he's like, don't marry Solana. This might be
Yeah.
my favorite, this is
And
my
he's like,
favorite scene.
just don't. He said, we'll figure it out. Just don't. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I love
it
it.
was great.
I
That I
loved
loved that.
it. I
Um,
also loved that. So we're seeing them being, vacation domestic, like,
mhm.
but we also see Shane's idiosyncrasies and we see Ilya kind of being endeared to him. He was like, why'd you make so many burgers? And he was like,
Why'd
well,
he
the
could
recipe called
and
for 8.
wait,
And he's like,
let's
you
stop down
have
here.
it.
Why did you
Shane
make
said,
eight
we're going to need
burgers?
protein. We're going to
But
need protein for this
why did you
weekend.
make they come in like a patty.
But no, I'm
You
telling
can
you,
freeze them.
it is something. Oh, see, I thought that he like made the patties. I thought he,
Even if
because
you do,
he
you can
seems like
freeze them.
it made me laugh
It was so
so
funny.
much
It was funny.
because Ilya was just like, "What are you doing?"
What are
But
we
he's
gonna do
also
with all of
like,
this?
"That's my boo. That's my. I guess
Yeah.
we're gonna use them." And there's something else that he does where I'm like, because I said on my
Was it the
TikTok,
phone
I was
call?
like,
Was it the phone call where
"Okay,
he
we're gonna get
absolutely
to
could
that
have just
phone
told
call.
Hayden?
Wait." But I said, I could not date a Shane. Shane would drive me crazy. I could not date a Ilya. Ilya would drive me crazy.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't date
they
neither of
are
these.
right for each other.
Yes.
They can understand and love and appreciate each other. Now, that phone call. So
I said, just call him back, Shane. Just call him back.
but I think he took it on purpose. There was something, I can't remember what they were talking about, but it introduced like just a tiny bit of tension. And I feel like, or Shane maybe felt like, oh, well, what do we do now? Or like, what do we do next? Maybe he felt like he was being boring, or
They
because
were getting
even
ready
when
to
they were
play the
like,
video game.
that's right, that's right. And so he was like, I'm gonna be you. And he's like, I'm gonna beat you. He's like, but I'm gonna beat you. So like, yeah. But oh my God, Ilya. that was, he's like, if you get hard, I'm gonna keep going. He was like, well, I'm not gonna get hard. Instantly, he was like,
Yeah, it was that was funny. The phone call was funny. I was like, just call him back, Shane. You can
and
call
poor
him back
Hayden,
in
it's
you
just
can
like,
call
because
him back
Hayden knows.
in the 2 minutes it's gonna take you to finish this because that's what we're that quite literally 2 minutes.
When they had that conversation at the beginning where he was like, it might go a little quick because it's been a while. And I was like, sir, you're
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. But that had me, especially when not only did he put it on hold, talking about my mom's on the other line, I need to get rid of her. And then finally was like, it was someone at the door, and the Connor starts laughing. And I was like, Hayden can hear all of this. He knows what's going on. It made me laugh a lot. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, I that was a fun scene. It's
Woo! But
all
then
fun. It's all fun and
all fun
lovey-dovey
and games
until your dad shows up.
until he says, okay, first of all, I didn't clock that it was his dad at first. And because, of course, my first watch, I'm still like on terror watch. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, a paparazzi has snuck into the house and they're about to get robbed and blah, blah, blah. And I absolutely love the camera move of uh, Connor or Ilya turns Shane around to like push him against the window and they kiss. And then there's that pan behind
Yeah.
dad's
I will
head.
say
And then, whew,
it's it was worse in the books. They were
ooh,
like making out in like the water. And the
amazing.
dad is
It was
just
like I was giving him life. I was breathing the
yeah.
gift of life into
So
him.
that the dad finds out, the dad runs away, which I just think is crazy.
But it's so typical of that dad.
Yeah.
That dad, if anyone else, Kip's dad, never. That dad, yeah, no,
He
that's
runs
exactly
away.
what he was going to go tell
Shane
mama.
Shane is like, my life is over. And Ilya, for the
Oh,
fir for the first time in this series,
parents.
Ilya gets to be the rock for Shane and is like,
I
we'll go over there. They'll still love you. You don't have to make a list of the guys that you've been smanging to tell them that you're like you can do this. I will go with you. And Shane is like, okay, let's do it. And then
I love
Ilya, go ahead.
I love this for one of two reasons. A, I love the idea of him being like, I know you're going to freak out about this. I know exactly what's going on through your head because I
Hmm.
know you. And so I know not to tell you like, oh, calm down, but like be like, give you solutions.
Yeah.
We're going to go over there. They'll be fine. They're going to still talk to you. And then we have the juxtaposition of that with the fact that if Ilya's dad, while he was alive, were to catch them, if Ilya's
Oh,
brother were to catch them, we're
it's
talking
over.
real danger. We are
Yeah.
talking danger. And so for him to be like Shane having these two loving parents that do, love him more than anything and are invested in
Hmm.
him as parents, Ilya knows it's going to be fine. But he also knows that this is Shane's Chernobyl. This is
Yeah. Oh, it's
Shane's
bad.
version of Ilya coming
And
out. And
then,
so he's like, I'm going to meet you where you are and
yes.
then
And
kind
then,
of bring
of
you where you
course,
need to be.
Ilya is Ilya, so he's going to wear the Boston shirt.
That was so funny.
Like,
He's like, they don't know I play for Boston.
but it just, especially because his mama is hockey obsessed and she does not like him. So they come over, and I know we've had a lot of discussions about who should play what characters. And I'm sure we will
Mm-hmm.
get into it a little bit at the end because we do have some general things that we want to cover. I thought that Hudson, like I said, this Hudson Emmys everywhere. Um,
Yep.
I thought he did such a phenomenal job at portraying this like it's a very specific experience to like talk to a loved one about this and like know that everything that your relationship might change forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he did such a great job of portraying that. I thought that Christina Chang and Dylan Baker did a great job as the parents of like the disbelief, the disbelief at their son being gay is almost equal to the disbelief that it's Ilya Rosenberg, right? She's
Well,
like,
no, I feel like
she's
it's
like,
also the other way. Yeah.
she's
Because
like,
they
but
said
you
we
hate
felt like
him.
you could be. Right. Well, they were like, we felt
Yeah.
like you could be, but
Eventually
Ilya?
it really and believe
Him?
me, as people start to find out that is going to be a common refrain. Like when the
Yeah.
dad was like, were there not any nice guys in Montreal, which is, one of my big issues. One of the other things I think Rachel Reed needs to go to jail because they took out, funny enough, they
Hmm.
took out a really interesting line, a couple of lines from the books that was in the scene where Shane
Hmm.
mentions that he's had two other male lover experiences.
Oh, okay.
Um, and in the end, but he says, he's like, but they weren't you, right?
Hmm.
And I was annoyed when I was reading the books because I was like, why was that
Show.
off page,
Right.
Rachel? At least one of them, it would, even if he's smanging this other dude and he's thinking of Ilya, that would have been something really tangible that
Yeah.
we could have used. But they cut it out here. But if I was the mama and the daddy, I certainly would have been like, th this guy. And then, of course, over the course of this extended sort of scene, they start to realize, Ilya might be, you
This is
know,
real.
sarcastic,
And
but like this is very
not what
real.
we think he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not what we think he is.
Oh my God. And then when Shane has the freak out near the end, and
Yeah,
Ilya's like, your
your
boyfriend,
boyfriend's
whatever. And he
here.
was like, my boyfriend. And then he gives him that kiss. And I love the idea of, because Ilya is really in a vulnerable spot. It's like, this is the man he loves. And then these are his parents who he
Hmm.
respects so much and listens to. And he needs to kind of make an impression with them. But then he's also like, F y'all, let me attend to my
Yeah.
boyfriend, and
It's
figure out
it's
what's
it's
going
great.
on
It's
there.
great. It's great to get these dynamics, and I think it was also great to
Hmm.
get the scene with Shane and his mama outside. This one almost got me.
You
Jacob, you
know,
tried to get me. You didn't get me, but you almost got me. But it was so
wait,
great.
okay,
It
yes,
was
I
so
want,
great.
wait, before we get there, there are
Yeah.
two other things I want to talk about because they lead into that.
Yeah.
The first one was there was a Schmangen saying Connor Cups
Oh yeah.
Hudson's breasts. And, and I was like, go. Oh, I don't know what it was about that specifically, but it got me good. I was like, oh.
I think
It was like
there was that was the scene that
it was
shook
this.
the intimacy coordinator.
Listen, it was the Scott Kent pickup, and then it was the grabbing of the tatties and suckling down that got me.
Ugh.
But when after uh uh Shane's dad leaves,
Yep.
and Shane is freaking out. Ilya says, maybe he didn't notice. And I died.
That would have
And
been
I
the
said,
thing.
it's
That would have been
such
the
a
thing that set me off.
perfect.
I would have started cussing him out.
But I think that that's what it was. It was like, let me break you out of like this existential dread. Let me get you mad at me. Either you're going to get mad at me or you're going to laugh. But either
Yeah.
way, it's going to kind of reset you. And I thought, oh, and the look on his face, he was like, maybe, and I was dying. But yes, so we get the outside scene, and he says like he apologizes, and he's like, I'm
Oh,
sorry, and
this broke
then
my
she
heart.
says, I'm sorry you felt like you couldn't come out to me. And then she says, please forgive me. And he says,
Yeah.
I forgive you, Mom. And she's
And
like,
that's it that
holy
that almost got
moly.
me. That almost got me.
Wow.
I think that it's interesting. Well, I'll do one. Hudson, of course, is great. Like this is a Hudson Williams episode 4 through 6 stand account. Um, and I think that you'd think that they'd already said everything. And so the fact that he went out there and continued is like
Hmm.
really interesting because I think the underlying thing in all of this is like, please love me.
Yeah.
And I think he did a great job of being, he's like, Mom, I tried. I really tried. And it's like, oh, baby, you didn't. Oh,
That killed
oh,
me.
that
Because
was
in
that was
his
tough.
head, he did, he
And
was
he did.
trying.
There was no,
And it's just,
you figure life out as you go,
I
you
am
know?
who I am. But especially because he's a mama's boy through and through.
Yeah.
And, she's a
He definitely was
son's
like, I
mama.
tried. I think, I
Yeah.
think it goes back to a lot of I think there's always been a lot of conversations about like coming out stories and whether we need them or not. And I remember Adam Silvera, who's this author, talking about like the day that it's not scary or dangerous
Yeah.
or worrisome for somebody to do that is the day that we'll stop needing them or the day that he'll stop writing them. And
Yeah.
that, like he said that to me like 10 years ago. And that has stuck with me ever since. And I think with Here you see it. And I think what's interesting about this show, and particularly the women in the show, is modeling like some interesting behaviors. I don't know what the impact of this show will have. We won't find out for a minute.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think that the show has to be revolutionary or change the world in order to be considered quality. But I do think it's interesting because there have been a lot of conversations where people are like, oh, well, like, what's the big deal about it? And oh, we know you're gay, and da 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 da. But I think what his mom showed in this episode is like, even if you are okay with it, are you making a world for the people in your life to feel comfortable
To open up to, yeah.
to open up to you off jump, right? This being like, oh, we don't care at the end and we knew all this time. And it's like, but if you knew and they still didn't feel comfortable coming to you until this present moment, there's like some self-reflection that needs to happen. And so I do I think that she needed to go that far? Not necessarily, but I do think I appreciated it from the
I
standpoint.
really, yeah.
I think I appreciate it from the standpoint of like trying to model the behavior of a two people and two parents of like make this world a welcoming one for your children. Um, and so
Well,
yeah,
it's not only
I enjoyed
that,
it.
but it's the idea of taking accountability as a parent. I think
Hmm.
we get so many narratives, and of course, there are plenty of experiences to kind of back this up. But the idea of like, well, I brought you into this world, and
Hmm.
therefore, I love you, whatever, and you not telling me would be disrespectful to me. Those people
Yeah.
that like, it's the narcissism of it all. And we know that Shane's mom loves Shane. We know that Shane's mom loves hockey. We know that Shane's mom loves the hockey business and the privileges that it's afforded all of them. And so
Hmm.
Shane is like, okay, I know that she loves me, and I also believe that me playing hockey at this level is a part of that love. So
Hmm.
if that's something that can add to that love, is me being gay something that can detract from that love? And I think that having her say, please forgive me for not showing you that I love you unconditionally, no matter what
Yeah.
you're doing, not because of these things, not because you're not these things or are, but because you, period. And I loved that scene because I think that that was the first line of Shane being like accepting it and being like,
Yeah.
oh,
He needed to hear that. He
because
needed
we
to hear that.
saw, because I wondered for a while why we had the scene, the Wimbledon discussion.
Hmm.
I was trying to really fit
That was a
that in
fun
and be
scene.
like,
Yeah.
I loved it, but I was like, what are they like kind of telling us? And he was just like, just go use my name, whatever. And it was kind of like, like
Yeah. Why would
you're
I do
my
that?
parents, whatever, like that's what you
Yeah.
should do. And the mom is like, why would you think she said, well, we don't want
Yeah.
you to lie, but it's like, why would you think we would do that? Why do you think we're using you? That kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
then when we get to that conversation with Shane and the mom, it's kind of addressing that, but also
Yeah.
saying, That's
It's
not it,
smart.
baby. We love you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
it's
that was
smart.
really cool.
He needed to hear that, and they get to ride off into the sunset at the end. This is not where the book ends.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I think Jacob wisely decided that we didn't need and you don't really need the epilogue. It's not the point of this is to end here. I thought that it was yeah, I think this is up there. I really enjoyed this episode. I think
Well, wait, what happens in the book for the epilogue?
they have a press conference about the charity where they announce it,
Oh,
which
oh,
I
okay.
think
So that's also, yeah,
if I were him, that might be how I kicked off season two, and then I would
yeah.
juxtapose that with like a sex scene.
Honestly, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I like what they
Um,
did in episode four where he like slammed him into the boards and then suddenly he was slamming
oh
them
my
into other
God.
places.
And we
Um,
were like,
that was I
stop
said,
it.
oh,
Oh my.
but
Um,
yeah, it
Now, one thing I thought
yeah.
was so interesting was the conversation after they went, I'm pretty sure it was after they went back inside. And
Hmm.
she's like, oh, because she says, all right, let's finish this. We're done. Breath in.
Yeah,
It's
what's the
over.
plan?
Okay. And yeah. And then she goes straight into, okay, well, we can feed these people the narrative. We'll get your top three sponsors. We'll
Oh
say
yeah,
this, rainbow
momager.
plagues and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, no, we don't want to do all that. That's crazy. He was like, we won't. And the dad is like, wait, you're not planning to come out until you retire?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah. And the mom was like, that's so sad. And
Hmm.
I think on one hand, I really appreciated that because because I mean, it is sad. But on the other hand, if they are happy and then this is the way that they can see to live their lives in a way that's not entirely open to the
Hmm.
public, where they can just kind of have themselves for themselves. But it's like,
So
I
I think
thought it
this
brought
is
that up in a really cool way.
in romance novels, in order to be considered a romance novel, you must,
Mhm,
this is non-negotiable, have a happy ever after
mhm.
or happily for now.
Yeah.
And this show is in the book was a happily for now, where
Hmm.
it's like they have, I think the idea here is that they've admitted their feelings, they put together the plan. We've got a set of parents who know, we've got a set of friends who know, like this, we've got it. This is happiness. And that's why I think he decided to just, excuse me, just end with them rolling down the street being happy. He was like, I'm just gonna happy for now. Now, what that sets up for season two, it'll be really interesting.
Well, when I tell you, I so
I
them going to the cottage was still very kind of like, hands on 2 and 10.
until it,
And,
yeah.
there might be
And
like a
now they're
little thing
lovey-dovey.
but then, oh my God. And the hand on the back of the neck and the scratch, everything. But during the thing, while they're talking to the parents, Ilya
Yeah.
says, I had a conversation with Scott. And he says, I didn't tell him about us, but he doesn't really go into what he asked, what the conversation
That's the
was.
vague
So if
that's the
anything,
Vegas scene
season
that is
two,
missing.
okay. Okay, got it, got it. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I need to
Yeah.
see that.
I think season two, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Since now we've covered the show, and I think we can get to some just bigger thoughts before we get into some other things. But like one of the, and I mentioned this is a have your cake and eat it too show. One of the things that I think I'm intrigued about the next book, their second book, The Long Game, is way more dramatic, way darker,
Mm.
way heavier.
Oof.
And I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting to see how you handle some of this because I think you skated by some of the stuff that you should have been handling, and which I will get to because I will, I have enjoyed the show, but I must state my final quibbles. And so it'll be interesting to see. There's just going to be a lot more, it's just
I
a
need
lot
more
more.
schmangin'.
It's a
I
lot
need the
of they
schmango
do
to
you.
drama
But here's the
for
thing:
it to
what you
be
need to do.
equal.
Somebody made like a list of all the spicy chapters in this book series, and it's
Nice.
like 20 in Heated Rivalry, and it's like 35 in the
Yeah,
long game. So
good.
which is why I was slightly annoyed when I read that article with Jacob where he was like, the sex will evolve and now it's more intimate. Da, da, da. I was like, these dudes are fucking. We don't
And Connor,
it
it's
it
okay.
don't have to be because it feels like where the show was so progressive in the beginning, it got regressive
Yeah.
at the end. Um,
Hmm.
in terms towards its attitude to
They're
these
like, oh, you
things.
don't care about that anymore. You care about the story. And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
part
like,
of the
no,
story.
but no, that's part of the story. Yes, I that's how I feel about it. So it's not a major thing, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think overall the season did some good things. I'm trying to where's my I wrote a list of like three things um that I think the show could have done better. One I already mentioned, which was it does a great job of showing how wrestlers' homophobia affects Ilya, but they
Right.
haven't done a great enough job of showing us how homophobia is pervasive and rampant. In particular, if you look at the NHL right now, right, and the social media
Hmm.
managers, there are heated rivalry this, or oh, this was a heated rivalry, da, 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 and Boston and Montreal teams actually played before Christmas. And I'm
That's
like,
false.
but the league itself is extremely
Hmm.
homophobic. They cancel
Yeah.
Pride nights all of the time. There was a whole kerfuffle around Pride tape. So I'm
And the
intrigued.
Russian players, yeah, that
Yeah,
were like,
American players, Canadian players too, right? Like
well,
it's
no, I mean, but the Russian ones were like scared to wear the pride jerseys. Some of them were like,
yes.
my family back home, like
And we've had a
they're in
whole
danger.
mess with a book talker who was harassing one of the look up the Seattle crack. A
Yeah.
lot of drama and mess. And so I'm like, okay, I love the fantasy of it. I love the romance. I love the silliness, but it does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity. I don't think
Hmm.
that the show did a great enough job because everything is so internal. The show didn't do, other than Shane in episode 4, a good enough job of these dudes being like, I need to end this. There was never, did you feel at any point
Both of them or
both of
just
them at different
Shane?
times being like, this would be the last time. This probably needs to be the last time. I can't keep doing this, or I shouldn't do this, right? Like you had the this is a bad idea, but they keep so we're sort of missing that. And then the number one, you know what the number one
Mhm.
is. It's Shane's race.
Okay.
I girl crumbs. We got crumbs in this
They
season, and
when
I
Ilya
wanted to
said
pose
Japanese, I was like, "Oh, is that where we're going?" But I didn't know anything
and that
about
and
the
you know what?
mom and
I was going to skirt by this until that line because it annoyed me in the books because it
hmm
always felt like his race was treated as like this superficial thing. I have a big question for you.
hmm
If Shane Hollander was 100% white, would anything in the story change?
No, just some of
Meaning,
the comments. But even then, like because the guy was like, "We're so happy to have a half Asian, half Canadian," yeah, I was like, "Wait, calm down." But yeah, yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
with him having an Asian mother, if he had had
yep.
like a white mother and an Asian father, then we have there's different dynamics there. But with him having an Asian mother, no, I don't. There was a
Jacob,
lot.
Jacob,
Yeah, get
if you're
someone Asian on the
listening,
writing staff, homie.
you said that you wanted to bring some writers in. You need to get you need because it's why I struggle with hockey romances sometimes, even though I've read like three this year.
One thing,
They're
yeah, go
so
ahead.
blindingly white, and I think that that's also
Yeah.
part of their success. But I'm also like, I it felt like Shane's sort of autistic neurodivergence
Oh, hmm
held all of the water for that. When
was the
I'm like,
diversity.
I
He
feel
had the
like
convert.
I feel like there were just moments where, like, and the reason why I say this is like Ilya's race of being Russian and white, but Russian specifically, is so crucial to the journey. And
It's
I
so
feel like
incremental.
it
Yeah.
should be so crucial. Like even a scene where it's like his mom was like, okay, well, we got to do this Asian media outlet, or are there any Asian media outlets over there? Or like, oh, do you want to do this
Yeah.
type of magazine, or do you want to go over here? Or like,
Or the
and
sponsor. Yeah.
how does it affect Shane moving in the world? Because like both of us are working professionals. We know
hmm
how being black affects when we walk into the door for the interview, when we get the job, when we are just out existing in the world, we know how we have to show up in different spaces and how the
Well,
paths we have to walk, right? Like
yeah.
in my past life, I was a civil engineer. I worked for an engineering company, right? Like I know that I could be one of few on the floor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like that, but that affects how I move in the world. It affects how I carry myself. And so I feel like there was a missed opportunity to weave that into how Shane was carrying himself that moved beyond just a neurodivergence. And I
Well,
really, 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 really want them to address it in season two.
I think that when we're talking about the idea of he's like, oh, we'll set up a charity and
Hmm.
we'll do this. And then we have mom who was like, let's get you to come out. But I'm like, if he's the only Asian in this game, and then on top of that, like all these kids and people and other agents are looking up to him to be represented. And then he comes out as gay. That's a different conversation. Like
Yeah.
that's an intersectionality kind of issue that you guys got to figure out on its own. It's not something that can just be like figured out. And but he was having a conversation with Rose. And she was like, what was it like being like the only Asian person? He was like, there was one more, but I had the more Western sounding name. So I avoided a lot of the bullying. And I said, that's such a,
Crumbs. But
it's,
it's there. It's there, but it's
but
crumbs.
it's
Yeah.
there, but it's also such a, oh, you're diverse, but actually not kind of thing. It's
Hmm.
when they cast someone black, but then they're light skinned with like straight hair, you're just like, yeah, like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so it just felt kind of a little uh rushed or a little lazy.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
just
I
didn't
would like to
feel
see more about that.
it just didn't feel as and like I said, this I had a bigger problem. This is why one of Rachel Reed's this is why she really needs to be in jail for at least a month. Um, it's just like it was like it's window dressing. It's very pretty window dressing, but it's window
Yeah.
dressing. And to me, I think that Jacob has done a good job of making me curious and making me lean in and making me notice these details. And I think that that
Hmm.
is a great success. The show is a great success, and it's a great success for this because it took something that should just be silly and frivolous and made a lot of things meaningful. And I appreciate it for that. And I need them to take the same care with the race because I think that it's even if it's because there are black hockey players that I don't
Hmm.
think get interviewed a lot by black media. Even if that is the thing,
Right.
if Mama was like reading down a list of outlets and she's
Yeah.
like, I don't see the Japanese Sun Times from Vancouver.
Right.
We got
Hmm.
to make sure they're there. Or like, oh, you need to speak at this can't like I think that the neurodivergence is carrying the way Shane moves through the world, but in a way that I
Was
also think that his race, like if he was not going out or doing all this crazy thing like his other teammates, I could see him being like, well, I can't do that because if I get caught up,
Yeah.
not first gay, first Asian hockey player drunk outside of club, right? Like that would affect him.
Right.
So
Was he's Asian in the books, right?
yes, half Asian, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was very funny. And I mean, it probably means nothing and it's complete non sequitur, but it made me laugh that Ilya is Russian and Shane is Japanese. And there is, because you think, Russia technically is in Asia, like a big part of it is in
Hmm.
Asia. And there is a lot of like mixture. You have a lot of Asians that can speak Russian. So you have a lot of Russians
Hmm.
that can speak various Asian languages. And I was like, that's so interesting that that was like the pair that they got together. It doesn't even it just made me laugh when I was thinking about it. But
Yeah.
the idea of that being like an attraction. Also, one thing, okay, so I might have done this, but Solana is black, right? Like she's
I
mixed at the
thought so.
very
I thought she
least.
was mixed.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. And there's just not because apparently her dad is like the minister of the treasury or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to hear that story. I want to see what's going on there. And then, of
Yeah.
course, we have Elena who seems to be like Afro Latina or something of that ilk. And it's just like, nah, she just New York ethnic, but it's like you have all these people of color kind of surrounding you, and there's
Hmm.
never any commiseration, never any like, the kind of thing. It's just like, oh, we're all comfortable and it's fine. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
she might be she's ambiguous. Yeah, I don't know what, she's Russian. She's Toronto based and she's Russian.
So we're gonna have
Yeah,
to wind down so because I gotta run to the airport. But
yeah.
before we go, I want to hear your
Let's talk.
thoughts about hockey podcast.
Let's talk about the various things around Heated Rivalry. A cottage industry has popped up of which we are a part of because we're making these videos, and y'all know that I do not
Yes.
make these YouTube videos either. Um, a lot of hockey podcasts. We had Jordan Firstman Hudson drama, which I'm sure we'll chat about. Um, the hockey podcast of it all. I think it's interesting that they're covering them. I think hockey.
Yeah. No, I know.
I
Yes,
think,
exactly.
yeah, it just, my struggle with this is like the league, the teams, majority of the fandom is extremely homophobic. And not these podcasts, because they have seemed to have proven themselves to be very open-minded about these things and they're enjoying the show and they remark on certain things. But just that like the popularity, getting to you getting to use the popularity of the show and not like pushing the league to do better or be better, and the league getting to do that, but not pushing themselves to do better or be better, grates on my nerves. So
So here,
I haven't dove into all of them, but what I've seen has not been bad, is what I will say.
what I will say is this because I exact same. I was like, I don't want to hear three white guys talk about three straight white dudes talk
Yeah,
about,
truly don't.
anything having to do with this. But then a friend of mine, she said, well, this podcast, it's what the netter or something, outer
Empty
netter,
netters,
some
empty
empty
netters.
netters.
Yeah.
They actually, before Heated Rivalry started, they had a section where it was this guy who read hockey romances and would give like reviews and recaps and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So they already kind of had that. And they talk a lot about the homophobia in hockey and how it's crazy. And, what would it be like now? Scott tried to come out, and what would it have to look like in order for someone to come out now, and et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. They have a respect for it that I was not really expecting. And they still have fun and they're still like, oh my God, like back shots, LOL. But
Yeah.
they're asking questions, they're invested in learning, and they really do these in-depth recaps. That one and then What Chaos are the two that
Yeah.
What Chaos has
I
a
saw what
rivalry
chaos. Yeah.
with. I have a they have a rivalry with the in-show podcast,
Yeah.
Man the
Because it's a
Priest.
terrible name.
Exactly. A, it's a terrible name, and B, it's just back. They're like, stop the Scott Hunter hate.
Yeah,
So
what I've
funny.
noticed about the show is that everybody loves Scott Hunter and everybody loves Kip. I think
Yeah.
which I think there's a reason for
I
that.
heard that it's a little different from the books though, and I thought that that was
I think
interesting pivot.
if Kip looked like Troy Sivan,
Mm-hmm. Exact. Yes. Exact. Yes.
I wonder if Kip did not look like he could also play hockey.
Yeah.
I do wonder. But
Hmm.
I'm here for people for television shows opening minds. And if they want to do, but I just yeah, I think it's more. It's like a self-preservation mechanism for me. It's like
Yeah.
until it's like me with the NFL, right? Like when they were like end
Prove
racism or
it.
Black Lives Matter for point 0.2 seconds, and then they just went back to being raggedy. It's like, well, I don't want to hear
I don't want a part of
if
it.
they made a
Yeah.
heated rivalry but NFL version. I don't want no. Y'all enough
Mm-mm.
into use this. So yeah, that's more where it comes from. But I have seen some clips from What the
Yeah.
Chaos and Empty Netters. So
Hmm.
and then
Those
I
are the
guess
two, and then of course the queer reactions and all that
yeah.
stuff.
I
But
haven't done the reaction pod thing. I'll see people's TikToks and stuff, but yeah.
well, because you mentioned the idea of them kind of gaining the popularity from the show, and I think that there are 1,000% accounts that do that, and those are the ones that I avoid like the plague. But
Yeah.
when I see someone actually putting in the work, doing the research, asking the questions, not only asking the questions but exhibiting that they have learned from the answers, and I'm like, okay, I'll hang with you a little bit longer, and we'll see what happens. But yeah.
Yeah, Um, I think what the chaos I think had Jacob on. They got an interview with him. I'm not sure, but
Hmm.
you know, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'd be
Yes,
intrigued.
that's right. Yeah.
I This would be my challenge to them. Get some more
Hmm.
queer people up on them shows as guests.
Exactly. Or even as a host, honestly.
But just
Like,
like, bring them on to
because
talk
there are plenty of queer
hockey.
people that love hockey. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they talk a
bring
lot
some
about
women
the,
on
the
there too.
hockey
Yeah.
girlies. Exactly. And I'm
Yeah,
like, bring them on. So yeah,
let's
proof is in the pudding.
I on those type of shows, I still want the person to be knowledgeable about the sport.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
Exactly.
it's fun to bring
Exactly.
on, it's fun to bring on, you know, like if I were to go on a baseball podcast, I could talk about it for forever, right?
Right.
So yeah, there's that. And then I guess the final
Cool.
bit of things that we did not cover because it happened in between when we brouhaha about who can play what character. Jordan Firstman gives an interview. Um, it's a
So
lot of
okay.
drama.
I
Francois Arnaud
I
responds. Francois Arnaud gives an interview with Vulture. Him in that
oh, I
interview.
don't know if I saw that one.
Oh, that interview was I loved to touch on that for 2 seconds.
Hmm.
Everybody was like, I can't believe the interviewer was so bitchy to Francois and he was doing all this. And it's like that interviewer felt a way about the comments,
Hmm.
brought them back to Francois, and Francois got like miles and miles of space to continue to defend the show, defend the actors, talk about the position. It was a way more in-depth discussion than if that interviewer had been like, so how are things going?
Right.
Everything must be nice. But yeah, the Jordan Firstman of it all. Because people in my real life have been asking me how I feel about this. And I was like, I Jordan Firstman is very annoying. He's been very annoying.
Yeah, but
He
I
is
enjoy him, but I have him in very
he
small chunks.
he's very annoying. If I put myself in his shoes for 2 seconds, he is an out gay actor,
Hmm.
very, very flamboyant. That alone has determined the trajectory of his career.
Yeah, he's trying to make it, and he's seeing these other.
And here comes a show about two buff, attractive sports dudes that smang on television
Yeah,
and it's getting raves and they are whatever they are sexuality wise and he's wrapping my issue with Jordan is like he's wrapping too many conversations into one.
yes.
But I think
Well,
and
there's
because
also
people
that
are,
struggle between concern and then jealousy.
yes,
And I
I
think
think it's a bit of
one
both.
plays what better than the other.
I
And
think it's a
yeah,
bit
I
of
think
both,
he's
but
just kind of caught in the middle.
I think that he's like these dudes are going to get mega popular off of this television show.
Yeah.
And if they are straight, it will be one in the long line of straight actors who, by portraying gay characters, jumpstart their careers, move their careers into a different position, get seen as better actors, right? Get these opportunities in a way that Jordan Firstman, the out flamboyant actor, will never,
This
right?
is the other thing though.
If
It's because
Jordan, if
he says it like right there. He says, if they're straight. And I think what we got in the past is, oh, this straight actor is playing a gay role. Versus now it's like, well, we don't know what their sexualities are.
mhm,
They're just playing these gay roles. And then the idea that they have to tell us in order to play these gay roles is going to be something, of course, that's just not going to fly with a lot of people. And so I think
yeah,
that he's taking a topic but it's framed in a different way, but that framing is enough to kind of undo it. So then but then he's also coming kind of from a place of jealousy and
yeah.
that kind of thing. And so it makes it so that we want to take you seriously and we want to believe that this is something you're really concerned about, but are you really concerned about this or are you just
I
mad that
think
it
it's
can't be you?
I think it's
And
both,
it might be a mixture
but
of both. Yeah.
I definitely think it is both, and I think that people this fandom grew exponent. This is why I told my friend
Oh, yeah.
Joan, I was like, I wish this had the interview with a vampire trajectory rather than the trajectory
Mm,
that it has had, where it starts off as
interesting.
like a cult
Okay.
show.
Yeah.
HBO Max picked it up later and it explodes, right? In the same way Interview with the Vampire was on AMC Plus, it goes to Netflix, everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Hmm.
Because I felt like we've sped run too many of these conversations, and I think a lot of the stands of the show started attacking Jordan and still do.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is about, oh, it's like their first acting role, and oh, if they but I think what I found is like in people's arguments about how no actor owes us their sexuality and why they shouldn't come out, they inadvertently start making some of Jordan's arguments for them, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
we are not owed people's private lives. So I'm very much of that. And I used to be celeb obsessed and I moved on. I'm old now. I don't care. But I do think, you know, I do think it means is Matt Bomer critically lauded for being in Fellow Travelers? Do you think Matt Bomer is a better actor because he was on White Collar?
Or you mean like a bigger actor, like more well known?
Better,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
right?
But
Like
no.
this,
Right,
we,
right.
we've just spent 2 hours of me throwing flowers at Hudson and his performance. And I
Yeah.
believe he has a girlfriend, whether we don't, like I said,
Hmm.
whatever he is, he is. But, he does, that is currently what's
Well,
on the table.
it
And they're
reminded
doing
me,
but it's like they're doing
yeah,
all these they're doing all this press and they're like leaning into it, which can be fun. But I'm like, but this is also what Jordan is like.
well,
I think
Hudson
Jordan was
is
being
really leaning into it,
I
and I
think
love
Jordan was
it.
being mean and nasty because
Yeah,
he is mean and nasty and he's annoying.
exactly.
But
Because have you seen the post of him and Hudson hanging
yeah,
out,
which I thought
Jordan
was
and
which
Hudson? I thought that was funny.
to me should have squashed it. But
Yeah,
these fans felt like they feel butthurt on his behalf in a way that
yeah.
it's like if Hudson doesn't care, if Hudson is fine doing all this PR stuff outside, then you should be fine. Like
It
it's his
reminds me.
career.
It reminds me
Yeah.
a lot of Josh O'Connor, someone who
Mm,
I don't think has ever publicly come out as queer, but
I don't think he is either.
every project he does is queer. That's the only reason I actually think he is, because even the things he's producing are queer. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe,
He's
whatever.
got
But
that it's the Britishness that I
I
think
was like, are
is
you British? Are you
but I think Josh
But
O'Connor
yeah,
is a perfect example. Paul Mescal is a great example. Timmy is a
yeah.
great example. Like you have all of these examples of like these straight actors getting to play these characters and that boosting that like tangible material effect on their careers.
Hmm.
And I think Jordan is coming. I wish Jordan would have taken it to a more systemic place rather than
Yeah.
make it sort of personal. But the thing he had to react to was this, right? It's like he could feel away because he's like, I'm playing, a sceney gay, as Francois would call him. Um, you know, and it's like the thing that's dominating the conversation is these two rough mask hockey players going at it every 2 seconds on this television show. And it's like, well, if they're like this, if you're straight, playing a gay character will have tangible material effect on your career.
Right.
But if you're gay,
Well,
you won't have as many opportunities to play straight to have that tangible, right? It just doesn't work both ways.
but then you have the Jonathan Bailey of it all, which then,
So
is it a British
that's a
thing? Is it a
I
timing
think it's a
thing?
really particular case. I think it's
Yeah.
he got mega popular playing a straight man who was having a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And so and he obviously he's people's sexiest man alive. It's like the sexiness is attached, which is
Hmm.
something I also think Jordan, if Jordan were smarter, not so annoying, he would have transitioned it into that because he would have been like, this system seems only set up if people want to smang you. Like I said, if Kip was Troye Sivan, I don't know if everybody would have this love and affinity for Scott and Kip the way that they do. It'll be interesting
Hmm.
because there's another relationship that potentially will come in the season two or season three if they get it, where they will address
Um,
where something like this will pop, and it'll be like, well, let's see, let's see. But yeah, it was a fun season of television. I'm glad we got to talk
yes.
about it. This got me out of my not posting
Right?
hole.
There,
It got me through the weekend, the holiday
yes.
weekend. So
We'll have to do like once all the reactions and memes and all the news comes out, we'll have to
yeah.
do another like post series clarity episode.
I definitely want
Because
to do like
yeah.
a additional wishes,
Yeah.
what I want to see in season two.
Exactly. I'm
So
excited.
thank you for joining
Yay.
me on this
We
journey. We
did
did
it.
it. We did
Always.
it,
I'm
Joe.
gonna go run. I know, right? I'm gonna
Have
run catch
fun.
this plane
Safe,
and
have a
do
safe
that.
flight.
Thank you
I
so
guess I'll see
much.
you back
Merry
here when you get back.
holidays.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. Oh yeah, for sure. And but yeah, oh, I had such a good time with this series.
I
I
enjoyed it.
can't wait for more. And Hudson, someone said, please do not let this man ever get media training. And I
I
agree. I'm going.
I and I'm of the Hudson. If you're listening to this is your number one stand right now. I appreciate the candor. I think
To spit in my mouth.
just a smidge, just because if you misstep at some point, the fall from grace is going to be really far. So
This is
yeah,
true. This is
just move it
true.
back just a smidge. But yeah.
I love it. All right. I will
All
see you
right,
later.
bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Terrence.